He's one of our captains. So we got hired part-time by the medical team. Yeah, I was just telling him. I kind of help him, and so D kind of help it. Streamlining and fixing our control stuff. So he's helping me with that, and we're going to try to start building it out. Yeah, a lot of the same challenges, and we've done a lot of investigative research. Same thing, I got it all in the lock and key, and then we got a bunch of sides. Well, he was asking how we wait. That girl sounds like when I there was my guy that was in my position.
I was like, oh, no one else is here.
All holding each other down, and then we sit in the dump. I'm like, oh, no, that's well, come to find out, I was like, you can't do that. I'm like,
you gotta have those reverse 2.2 form, and I mean, there's a lot of.
And the problem is, I have so many built up that I didn't know what to do. That it's gonna take a lot of envelopes.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Like I said, I've waited 3 years. I probably have not many, 120, 140 files, each of the 4 control subunits. So I broke them into groups for the, what is it, DN, drug number or whatever. So I have drug number this on this file, and I have drug number this on these. So I call the company, and the guy has to look them all up. So in the quantity, okay, these come in a box of 10. You have to put, you don't have 10, so don't put quantity 10. We're not mean quantity. It's work.
I'm not going to say at one point I did try to. I didn't do it. And now I got down. I haven't done it. All right. So that was
I'll shoot you an email Monday.
Huh? Yeah.
I'm Timber Mason. Great place. No, I came down yesterday. I was talking to my friends. Somebody posted on Facebook. They probably have 8 inches in my top. Show was dry. Well, wet. Yeah, didn't get cold.
Oh, yeah. They got 8 to 10 inches.
Exactly. Tell other people where to get them up.
It's all nice and clear when I'm driving here. I'm not done yet. I got some buddies that are coming down here. They camp.
And
this is the 30th year they've done it.
they were laughing at her.
People bring all their own furniture and burn them in the wash. This wash is going to be running.
I'm like, you're going to burn out.
Or we're going to be running.
All the idea of particles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been interesting to hear you guys. We started like 34 years ago, and anytime I come to these meetings.
Okay, guys, I guess we'll get started. It's a little after 9:30.
I just got a little further ago.
You're not talking, so you mute.
I'll just email you.
I'm happy to
That was just amazing. I heard that like.
And then,
Call to order. Anyone on the phone, go ahead and mute your phone. The first thing
On the phone. Can you please put it on mute?
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. My voice is absent. Amber Rice. Here. Brian Smith.
On the telephone. On the telephone.
Edmund Dula. Chris Long. Matt Shaw.
Here.
Nara Patel. Orlando Alcordo. Paul Honeywell.
On the phone?
Yeah, mute yourself if you're not talking. Thank you. Brian Harold.
Here.
Sandy Nygaard.
On the phone.
Hollingsworth. Here. All right. Yeah, please mute if you're not speaking. Thank you. We have quorum. Okay, so first for the chairman's report, so we have our attendance report, which is attached. As a reminder, if you missed 2 consecutive meetings, the Bureau will contact you and make sure that you're still interested in serving on the committee. Second item is the new members for the Education Committee. So in addition to myself joining the committee, we have Chris Long, who is not here today, I believe, Director for EMS and Health Services at Mojave County College, Community College in Kingman, and then Matt Shaw from Guardian Medical. For our work group update, I think the only thing on here was, the other one we had to talk about was our...
The SMR got held up
did it?
With MVC tabling a bunch of things.
That's what I was wondering. That's highlighted. Okay, so really the only update for this group is no, I guess it didn't get voted on the NBC then?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So we're still waiting on NBC to approve the SMR update document. Education bylaws are due for review in January, so that will be coming up. So everyone keep that in mind as well. And then for the T3G update, the T3Gs that were reviewed by the committee, voted on by MDC and are now up on the website, correct?
Correct.
For everyone to use and download. And that is everything for my report, so over to Ben and Gail.
So I'll actually go to Terry for the rules update.
Thank you. Most of you probably know that, but we are in the process of updating several different rule articles dealing with EMS ground and air vehicle registration and licensure. And we are just beginning the process of updating the CON rules. Our Office of Administrative Counsel is in charge of the process. If you haven't participated before, it's an iterative thing. We speak with everybody, we get their proposed changes, we incorporate them, and then we put it back up on the website, and we do that several different times. The document that's being shown on the screen right now is a timeline for the various rules updates. We welcome anybody to participate and it's available on our website at azdhs.gov, and look for the Office of Administrative Counsel active rulemaking. But if you have any trouble finding it, just let us know and we'll get you to the website. That's all.
Our group, the services section, has a motorcycle traffic related trauma report that was produced for the trauma program managers. The report is available on our website for trauma program managers and then EMS agencies. We will provide a zip code level Excel spreadsheet in the reports portal. So when you get signed up for that, we're hoping to push that out in the near future. So in addition to this kind of high-level public report, you'll actually have information at the zip code level about motorcycle trauma in your area, and that is already up on the website right now. I'm going to let Julia talk about EMS for Children real quick.
Sure. So I'm Julia Vincent, the EMS for Children coordinator. Today we have our PACES meeting, Pediatric Advisory Council for Emergency Services at 1:30, so I hope you'll stay if you're interested in that. We are going to be finalizing our bylaws, as well as are in the process of finalizing our roster. So we're currently advertising for 3 open positions, currently practicing EMT, registered nurse, and the family representative. Additionally, we are hoping to start kind of a safe sleep education initiative, which you will see down further on the agenda.
Thank you. And then finally, the Treat and Refer Standards Work Group. So we had a small, or not a small, it was actually a really big work group, meet twice to talk about revising the Treat and Refer Standards, to revise the manual and the application for that. The meeting minutes and the recordings from those meetings are available on our website, along with our other meeting information. It was a good process. I think we made some good changes, and those suggested changes will go to EMS Council in January for vote for approval. We have tried to kind of take as much input as we can from various stakeholders, and then make the application and manual as streamlined as possible so that we can encourage participation, and we were fortunate to have Access participate as well. I think that's all I have.
Okay, super. So just a couple of action items to discuss. So the first is to discuss and amend and approve the meeting minutes. So I hope you guys all had an opportunity to take a peek. If I have a motion to either discuss any items or approve them.
I'll move to approve.
Second. So all in favor of approving the meeting minutes as written? Say aye.
Aye.
Great. The second item on the agenda is looking for a motion to discuss forming a work group for with PACES, so sort of a combination work group with the Education Committee and the new PACES Committee to form a training module for safe sleep training. So there is a sort of module out there that some people have been using called DOSE training. It's relatively pricey to use, so it's probably not been heavily adopted. So the PACES group was looking for us to sort of join forces, join a formal work group, and develop a sleep training that we could put up on the website for others to use. So this would be for paramedics to provide sort of like on-the-spot, in-home education if they recognize something that they see when they're on scene. So I don't know. Julia, if you want to say anything else about that, or if I can get a motion to discuss this.
These slides are, you'll see them attached to the agenda. They're basically just the statistics from the most recent child fatality review report, which was just released last week. So this is the information specifically about unexpected infant death syndrome and basically related to that.
Do I have a motion to discuss this item?
So I do have a question about the attachment 5B. So is this, what would the work group be doing? Should we revise what's in front of us? Is this reference?
This PowerPoint, it's just for you to reference. It's just the information from the most recent report. So it's just kind of the prevalence of related deaths in Arizona for the 2018.
And the goal of the training would be to produce a PowerPoint that paramedics could use in the field to educate.
Yeah, so if you look on the screen right now, it kind of talks about the DOSE program, which is already been implemented. I think it started in Florida. As Dr. Rice was saying, it's very pricey, and so we were kind of thinking that we would be able to take what they've done and adapt it to something very basic and pretty easy for us to implement here.
I think of Reader's Digest, just to kind of explain what we had talked about, the goal is to look and see, can we create a curriculum design for EMS that if EMS was called a scene, they happen to see a family that had 10 stuffed animals and 8 blankets in a crib with a 3-month-old, that they could do some real-time education and to say, hey, there's higher incidence of sudden infant death with this. We'd recommend, and the data recommends taking it out, but really even in some basic information. So it would be a very brief training, like 30 minutes pretty much on that.
So this would be, sorry.
Like the AUP has recently revised sleeping parameters for families that are pretty well summarized in handout forms that are at a low literacy level, written specifically for families. Has anyone just looked at those as something that can be reviewed with? Just print them and review them with families and give them a copy of it.
Yeah, that definitely could be something to include
in the curriculum as well. Sure.
Thanks for volunteering to participate.
Yes. You were already participating, so thank you, Julie.
Yeah, I think my concern, I fully support this as a needed educational tool. My concern is that we're never going to have a paramedic who pulls up a PowerPoint and delivers a PowerPoint in the field.
I don't think it was for that. I think it's just to give them the information.
Right, so I think we need clear goals of what the training is to be. It sounds like the consensus is the training should be directed to teach a paramedic how to recognize risk factors, and then the follow-up part of that is an information card that they can give out. What do you do? So I think my request would be, one, to have a very focused training, and two, have some tools that a paramedic can actually use as part of that training.
Anything else? Anyone want to make a motion to approve a work group between the two committees? Does anyone want to make a motion to approve a work group? Okay. Second. All in favor of work group between the two committees to develop a safe sleep training? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah. If anyone wants to volunteer, email Shelley. Shelley will.
Man, she's got this chair roll figured out.
Email me. Definitely don't email me. No, just kidding. Definitely email me or Shelley. Be happy to help.
Julie, are you participating?
Yes. Thank you. I already wrote her down. Julie and Julia, that might be confusing, but it'll be good. Okay. I think the next thing is our call to public type. What do we have there? Oh, what I missed? Oh, yeah, we have another one. Sorry, I forgot the STRs. So the next agenda item is I would love a motion to discuss the current STR training and possible revisions. Great.
So just a little bit of background on this. We had kind of incidentally created different STR PowerPoints over the last few years from this committee. And so we've done the naloxone for EMTs and law enforcement. We did the IM-EPI for anaphylaxis. And then we also did the end-tidal CO2 monitoring. And so what we recognized is when we look at the document that's in place, we scroll down for the STRs. I think it's about 237 pages where each STR has 5 or 6 long bulleted paragraphs of what to potentially teach. And so realistically kind of stepping back and saying what option is going to be more likely to be utilized and easier to update. So a format like this, if you update, you have to kind of change the whole document. And so we wanted to just put this forward to say right now this is the resource that we have out there for agencies that want to potentially do training on STRs versus potentially as we look at the scope of practice and what things are currently in an STR, do we have PowerPoint or do we want to work in that format? Obviously, forming PowerPoints takes a little bit of effort. Typically, we've been able to create these training curriculums in 3 meetings, which is not a huge burden. It just takes a little bit of coordination of time. So we wanted to see what the group's thoughts and appetite was. Obviously, we would need input from this committee to do this. If the group's not able to, like they want to put in this work for this, that's not something we'd probably move forward with. So this is the current version. Sorry, if you can just scroll down to show the actual STR document. Keep scrolling. So.
Gail, are you suggesting switching from this to all PowerPoint? Is that the bottom line?
And just as a reminder, the STR documents, so these are not required for an agency or medical director to use, but it's an option for them to utilize. The concern is with a lot of STRs, agencies that may be implementing this may not have a medical director that has the time or bandwidth to put together a training curriculum, but I don't know that this format is something that they can use to necessarily teach something.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, my agency has some resources in that, and I would still prefer them to be in PowerPoint. I mean, it's just much easier. Even if you wanted to modify it, it's still much easier. And I'm happy if we wanted to divvy them out, I'm happy to help with one of them. But I think we should have a uniform PowerPoint for all STRs, for what that's worth.
So issue one being that this document here is somewhat out of date, would need to be updated anyways. And in addition, some of the STRs may be able to be removed in the scope of practice update, potentially. And then we could turn this into something more usable by converting what's left into PowerPoint that are updated.
So that will kind of depend on, I think Terry's trying to open rule for scope of practice, potentially 2020.
Yeah, I failed to mention that I have a verbal approval to include an update to our Article 5 rules as part of our CON rules. And that's where we could make changes to scope of practice. It's going to take a while, though, because our rules are going to be open for quite a while.
I think there are, I think there are probably a number that are probably safe that we could start on. You know what I mean? That would remain for sure. But
My concern is that's a lot of STRs.
Currently, yes.
You could be biting off an amazing amount of work here. It's pretty easy to go through a bulleted list. You can do that in a quick meeting. At least in my experience, making an hour PowerPoint is a week of dedicated effort from people. So that is a lot.
I'm not sure that all of these are going to be an hour PowerPoint, though.
Would it be better to start by like a category, pick paramedic STRs and work our way back, or EMT STRs and work our way forward? There just might be more EMT STRs, so less would be paramedic maybe.
Part of this would be evaluating what we think would remain as a STR versus things that we think potentially would not be a STR moving forward. So in general, I think we have to do the crosswalk of current Arizona scope, national scope has to go through the rule writing process. That's a long process. But just fundamentally, do we want to move in that direction? So I don't think we're asking anyone to agree to make PowerPoints for all the STRs. Maybe we just pick the ones that we think are more likely to be done across the state. Some of these are...
Theoretically, anybody that's teaching STRs has some sort of a teaching curriculum for them, right? If their paramedics are using them. It may not all be PowerPoints, but I mean, I would certainly be willing to share ours for these certain things as a starting point. So it's not like we'd be starting at zero. But it would be nice. I think there's a ton of duplication of effort throughout all of EMS, and it would be nice to eliminate some of that.
I'm going to ask the people on the phone what their thoughts are.
does anyone on the line want to add to the discussion?
This is Sandy. I just agree that probably most of the training programs already have a PowerPoint that they're using, and it's probably the most current one. So that seems to me to be a really good resource.
Discuss maybe the process for how we would do this.
I think today's vote is simply on format.
Yeah.
You can amend the motion to specify.
Does anyone want to throw out a motion to keep one format over the other? Or move to a new format?
I think I would be comfortable with a motion to eliminate the current list of STR training that is on there.
The 237-page document?
To eliminate that list.
I can't. I am required by rule to keep it up for now. You have to keep something up.
So now we're going to have an issue with the conflicting list in PowerPoints, right?
We would make PowerPoints of a selected number of them.
We can cut and replace.
Yeah.
I just have to have something.
Yes,
Replace
rule
some of-
requires curriculum, so
those 200 and some pages are written curriculum. A PowerPoint is not written curriculum, so you would not be meeting rule if you got rid of the 200 and some pages.
Why is the PowerPoint not written curriculum?
It is not standard written curriculum in the education community. Is it?
I think it's semantics, but.
So Doug, would we have to update?
There may be some flexibility that we could work on.
I think it's important to understand how we got to the point where we have this many STRs to begin with, right? So whenever the NHTSA curriculum changes nationally, and we add things like, which is where we're at right now, we're back into another curriculum or another national curriculum that NHTSA has written. The easiest way for us to add it into our scope of practice was to put it in as an STR, because that way we could not do all 20,000 providers to the new curriculum, and the medical directors that wanted their providers to have a certain scope could add it individually. So that's how we got a lot of these STRs. Nationally, you could probably knock out 75% of that to meet the national curriculum. Really, the only ones on the EMT level would be things like intubation and IVs that aren't in the national curriculum for EMTs.
We can work with the committees to come up with the methodology to meet the committee's needs. That's not the issue. We just have to have something, I think, that meets our statutory requirements for.
Hi, it's Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi. I would like to know where in the rules it says we have to have a curriculum for STRs. Does it say that anywhere? Because when we did STRs, we had a definition of what that was. It required authorization of a medical director and training, and we decided to assist that by writing these curriculums. But I don't think it says the mechanism by which that occurs. So PowerPoints, we've done that with the epinephrine and EMT issue. Because I don't think it says we have to have a curriculum for STRs, does it?
Brian, Terry, I don't have my rules in front of me, Brian. I can't recall the actual terminology. I think it references in a form provided by the department, but I think that the more important issue is that we can be flexible to meet the group's needs. I'll just need to make certain that I touch all the bases required by rule during the process.
Okay, so here is, because I have them here on my desktop. So this is our 925-502. Scope of practice for EMCTs, and it says an administrative medical director shall, before authorizing an EMCT to perform an STR skill, ensure that the EMCT has completed training specific to the skill, consistent with the knowledge, skills, and competencies established to ARS 362204, and available through the department at www.regulatory references, but it doesn't say specifically how we do that.
We're good. We can.
So it sounds to me, and I think my general feel for the comments is this 200-page document is not used, right? And it's hard to keep up to date. And it is not useful information for the vast majority of medical directors. And then there's the desire to, at least for me, to have a more user-friendly resource. The question becomes, what is the format of that resource? So I think we don't have enough information to make that decision right now. Would this be something that we could table and bring back next meeting with a request for what would we transition out of and to, and a work plan to go with that?
I think the whole goal with the SDR and the curriculum was to have any agencies or anyone that do not have some guidelines to follow, and this is how it was created. So, I mean, I agree that there really isn't a written. We did it because we wanted to make sure that if somebody wanted to use or an agency or someone that would want to consider using some of these skills, that they have something to follow, but not necessarily. I mean, just that first one, a ventilator, that's a long one, and having to start from different views of how people want to start their training, they wanted some guidelines. So, as you can see, it's been there for probably about, 6 years maybe?
Well, your point raises my concern. How are you going to create a PowerPoint to teach ventilators to all the paramedics in the state of Arizona? That's going to be many days of work.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we can address all of these with PowerPoints. I'm worried that if we vote here to say, no, we're going to transition everything to a PowerPoint, we're creating an awful lot of work.
As opposed to what other?
I think what I'm asking for, I think my motion would be to table this motion at the meeting today,
Okay.
and request that at the next meeting, the EHS group provide essentially a work plan of what could be done. What's a feasible option?
So, do you guys have to go to all or nothing? I mean, it seems, I think I feel where you're going. I mean, could you not just do a hybrid and take the ones that are pretty readily, done as PowerPoints, and the other ones you could list for ventilators, for instance. I mean, I teach ventilators to all my paramedics, and it's a very lengthy PowerPoint, and frankly, without somebody being in front of the classroom actually doing that education, the PowerPoint is worthless. Like, you can't really go through a ventilator PowerPoint and know the ventilator. So I agree that one doesn't lend itself to that kind of education, but you certainly could put the points that should be done in a list format like this. So on the other hand, an intradermal injection is a pretty straightforward thing, and you could do that on a PowerPoint. Intranasal injection could be done on PowerPoint. I mean, I think some of them do, some of them don't. And to that point, does it have to be all or none, or can you just do a hybrid?
Should there not be some ownership on the medical director of the agency that says if they want to add, RSI, that they should not take responsibility for the education of that? Because the way that they might want to do that could be very different than the way the state gives a general idea.
So I'll tell you from my perspective as a medical director, I 100% agree that you should, but at times it is nice to have a stock PowerPoint, especially for the smaller things, the smaller items, that you don't have to spend time going back and doing, and you know that it's been approved and that's going to hit all the points that you need. So yes, you could, but I'm not sure that every medical director in the state has the time to do every one of these, and that's where I see the benefit. Something as important as RSI or vent, I agree, that's probably best handled at a local level.
I think somebody said it earlier that the PowerPoints are already done for almost anything up there, that with the exception of the SDRs for a paramedic. The paramedic is practicing it, the curriculum's been developed and it's published in the paramedic textbook and the PowerPoint resources. So if you were to start, I think you have everything up there. That's the EMT, AEMT, and I-99 that the paramedic is already doing. It would just be the STRs. And I think most of that was adopted and with the new curriculum, and it's probably already available. I'd be willing, given some time, to go through the textbook and the curriculum and find out the PowerPoints and kind of cross-reference it and give information to find out what's there, what's not.
So let's start with that.
You're talking book publish or PowerPoint?
So right now, the motion on the table is to table
Yes.
this particular item, and at least for now, until we have a better work plan as to how we might move forward with creating this. So is there Any more discussion, or would second that motion?
I think this list needs to be revisited, and like what Sharon was saying, let's eliminate a lot of this stuff that's already.
May I add one piece of information under the discussion? Just so in reference to the requirements of the Bureau, I think we have great flexibility, as I had mentioned, in meeting the needs of the committee. So I think I am required, though, under the current rule language, to have some guidance for each STR, whether that's a PowerPoint or a written document. And it doesn't require that it be a 75-page document. We can break it up into smaller things and do it piece by piece. There's a lot of options available to us. And in addition, if the scope of practice changes with the work on Article 5, presumably some of these would become scope of practice and would no longer be STRs. And so there would not be a requirement from the regulatory perspective to have a document associated.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Perfect.
Any more discussion? Yeah, is that your second?
Second.
Is that your second? All right.
Second.
Okay, so I have two motion and a second to table this item for now, and bring it back, with a work plan potentially after we've visited some of these scope of practice issues, which could eliminate some of the list. Anyone in favor of that? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. That motion is approved. We will table that for later discussion. The last thing I have is the call to the public. Is there agenda items? Okay. Does anyone have agenda items that need to be considered for the next meeting? And now our call to the public. Okay, so just we have a couple of current events were mentioned at the last meeting. I'll review them again for this meeting. So December 3rd through 5th, the Navajo Nation Emergency Medical Services Trauma in the Boonies in Kayenta. The 13th and 14th of December, the American Trauma Society's Injury Prevention Coordinator course in Sacramento. And in March, 2nd and 3rd, the NAEMS's 11th Annual Pediatric Symposium in Flagstaff. Our next meeting will be March 19th at 10:30 right here. And with that, we're adjourned.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't.
Orlando, I think you